Good morning, everybody. This is Heather from our Hodgepodge Homestead, and this morning I'm going to make some white bread. I'm using my mom's recipe. I'll share that also down in the description of the video, but this is my first video, so bear with me. I'm nervous on how to do this, but I've kind of got my all my ingredients set up and measured out, so basically we'll just kind of walk through mixing it all together and through my whole process. All right, here we go. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do, which I've already got all my ingredients pre-mixed, so I'm going to pour my lukewarm, 3 cups of lukewarm water. So we got 3 cups of lukewarm water, and then I mix in 2 packets of yeast, and I'm just using the Baker's Corner yeast I picked up at the local grocery store. And just kind of give that a swish around, give it a few minutes to sit in that warm water. Alright, so now that we have the yeast in the warm water, we'll go ahead and mix in 1/2 cup of shortening. Alright, and 1/2 cup of sugar. Alright, and then I'm going to throw in 1 egg. And then my mom's recipe calls for 7 or 8 cups of flour next. I'm just going to give this a little swirl around before I start adding my flour. Just to kind of break up that shortening a little bit. Alright, and scoop the flour in just a little bit at a time. I don't want to put all 8 cups in at once. I actually usually mix this by hand, but I thought I would try it with my KitchenAid mixer this morning. As you can see, all of my bowls, my measuring cups are all Pyrex. I'm slightly Pyrex obsessed. Even my bread pans over here are all Pyrex. I'll have to share with you a little bit about my Pyrex obsession. I have quite a collection. I'll try to put a picture in the video. maybe one day I'll do a video about my Pyrex because I have a ton of it. Alright. Looks like the bread is thickening up nicely. Once I get this all mixed up, I'll put it in a bowl, and then I will put it on the stove, and it will rise. So I'll rise it in the bowl. I put it on the stove because I'm gonna have the oven preheating, and so it'll be slightly warm, which is good because my house is cold. So I always preheat the oven in order to have some heat. To help the dough rise a little bit. All right, turn that back on. And so what I'll do is once I get it in the bowl, and I'll just round it off and set it on the stove, cover it with a towel, and just let it sit until it rises. It'll rise and come over the top of the bowl. Then I'll knead it. Cover it back up, let it rise again, and then I'll put it in once it rises the second time, then I'll put it in my greased and floured loaf pans, which I'll show you, and then I cover it one more time when it's in the pans, I split it into 4 loaves, and then I let it rise, cover it again. Once it rises, I pop it in the oven and cook it for about 40 to 50 minutes. At 350 degrees. My oven here is a little different, so I keep a close eye on it, but it's just cook them until they're nice and golden brown. Alright, so this is getting mixed up really well. So I'm gonna let it do its thing here for a few more minutes. Get this flour beet pushed down inside there. This is by far the easiest bread. It's simple ingredients. I just love making it. It makes your house smell delicious. Alright, so now I'm going to get my hands in it a little bit and finish mixing it. Got my bowl, again a Pyrex, love my Pyrex. So I started off with 8 cups, and now I'm adding a little bit more flour. You know, it's just got to be the right texture. You don't want it super gooey. I'm going to give it another minute in here, and then I will put it in my bowl here. Still a little gooey, so I will still add a little more flour to it. pouring some in and kneading it into the dough. Just trying to get that super stickiness out of it. All right. It's pretty well mixed. Once I have it made into a ball, then I grab my towel. I just use the flour sack towels, and then I cover it, and this will sit on my stove. As I mentioned, I'll preheat my stove a little early so that it does provide a little bit of heat because it is chilly in our house this morning. And we'll get this ready to rise. Okay, while we're waiting for the bread to rise, I did want to show you how I prepare my bread pans. I use the glass pans. I used to use the metal ones, but since my obsession with Pyrex grew, I definitely gravitate more towards Pyrex. So these are the Pyrex pans that I use. They're just standard loaf pans. I get my butterfly gold. And so anyway, what I typically do is I'll just take shortening or butter and dip my paper towel in it. And then I just coat the entire inside of my bread pan, the sides, inside, bottom, corners. Make sure you get all the nooks and crannies in there. Just make sure that it's all very well coated with your grease or butter or shortening or whatever you decide to use. And then I go through and do this with all of my pans first. All right, I think I've got them all covered. And then I put flour in them. I coat the whole insides with flour. Again, no scientific method, nothing exciting, no special tricks. I literally will just put a little flour in my pan. Sorry, you couldn't see that, but I just poured a little bit of flour in there, and then I just tap it. And then I usually will put another pan under it so that as I'm tapping, if any comes out, it just falls right into the other pan that I'm going to do next. And it looks like I might have missed a spot with my grease. So I'm definitely, if you can see, my grease didn't touch or didn't coat everywhere. So I'm just gonna go back in and put some more grease in there, and then it should coat it good. All right, then I put the rest of it in my next pan, and so on. And I'll do this with all 4 of my loaf pans. Okay, so the bread has been rising for maybe an hour or so. It's doing really good. Let's take a look. I'm gonna set the camera down here so that I can work the bread. But as you can see, it is up over the top. It looks perfect. So all I'm gonna do, I like to have just a little bit of flour. Sorry if the light's too bright. A little bit of flour on my hands. It just helps the dough from sticking. And then I'm just gonna push all the air out of it. I'm gonna move this over. See if we can get a little better lighting so you can see. So it's real airy. Right. Wash all the air out of it. Ooh, it's still kind of gooey. Alright. Got it back into a ball. And I'm going to cover it back up. Put it back on the oven and let it cook let it rise one more time in here, and then we'll put it in our pans. Okay, so my bread has risen for the second time in the bowl. As you can see, it's risen up pretty big over the sides. So this time I'm just gonna knead it real well, then I'm gonna split it into 4 equal pieces and then put it into my 4 loaf pans that I have pre-greased and floured. All right. You pull it out of your bowl. What I usually do is just split it into half, just by kind of eyeballing it. Then I take my half. I keep adding flour because it's still a little sticky on the inside, so round that off, and again, just kind of split it into 2 equal pieces, or close to it. Then I just kind of mold them a little, make them into bread loaf shape. Remember, you're going to let them rise one more time in your loaf pans as well, so they don't have to be perfect. They will fill out and make their own shape. Alright, so now I have them all in my loaf pans. I'm going to cover them again with my towel on the stove top because it's warm. That does help them rise. I will avoid that burner over there because that's where my vent comes up, and I definitely do not want them to get too warm and start to cook before they go in the oven. So they will sit right here. I'll cover them. Oh, my lighting is terrible. I'll cover them with the towel. Let them rise one last time, and we'll be back. Okay, so pulling up my towel here, we can see that all 4 breads have risen for the last time. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the oven, and we'll see what the finished product looks like. Okay, so I pulled my bread out of the oven after 40 minutes at 350 degrees. As you can see, it fell a little bit, but they look really good. I'm going to get them out of the pans now and put them on my cooling racks, and you'll be able to see the completed product. Okay, so the bread is done out on the cooling racks. All looks pretty darn tasty. Smells even better. So I will put the recipe in the description of the video, and if you enjoy making bread, I definitely recommend trying it. It's super easy and makes your house smell delicious. So if you like the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.